Hello. It's really good to be with you all. The first thing I would like to do is to thank you for your work in community and to thank the Kresge Foundation for your leadership and support of so many of us through the years. What I would hope to do today is to share a couple of remarks around equity and opportunities that I think are the future for us. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm just asking you to think about what I'm saying. The first is, equity will never be dead. People can be scared of it. They can try to find another word. Equity can never be dead because this is soul work. And you can't diminish our souls. And I really want you to hold that. Equity is soul work. It's not an initiative. It's not a project. It's not going anywhere. The second thing I want you to hold on to is there is not a magic word that will make other people see our humanity. So stop trying to find it. Every word that we come up with, they take. Whether it's diversity, inclusion, equity, belonging. And then we have all these words that become like the Tower of Babel. We don't even know how to operationalize them. So it's not actually about the word. It is about what the aspiration of the word embodies. That's what I want you to hold on to. Now, when you think about the definition of equity, the PolicyLink definition is just and fair inclusion into a society in which all can participate, prosper, and reach their full potential. The operative word in that definition is all. Not all as a proxy for white, but all meaning all. It is the unfinished business of this nation. It is the unfinished business of our work. That definition is not a charity definition. It is a nation-building definition. So if you want to sustain the work that we all are doing and to finally have the breakthroughs at scale that we need, I invite you to remember one thing that Angela Glover Blackwell often shares with me. She says, you know what, Michael, how tragic it would be if you prosecute things that have already been won for you. How tragic it would be if you prosecute things that have already been won for you. We know we can do pilots, we know we can do initiatives, we know we can do charity. And those things are needed because people are still suffering. But something else is needed now. So I want you to think about your leadership stance that you take. For me, the leadership stance that I take is that I don't need permission to do this work. It's really important for you to think about that. I don't need to be authorized to do this work. So the question is, will I do the work? I do not need authorization. And if you think you do, I would suggest you probably shouldn't be in these most senior level seats. The second is, you can't do this work if you're scared of your people, all of your people, because you will never love them the way they need to be loved. And the way they need to be loved today is to be liberated from oppressive structures. So I invite you to think about what would it look like if you were founders of the nation yet to be born. We're not just practitioners. We are founders of the nation yet to be born. So what does that mean? That means if you want to get to population level impact, you have to hold the discipline of the all. You know, at PolicyLink, this came up when I first became president and CEO. We centered a population in our work because I wanted to be more explicit about the results we were going to achieve. So we situated the 100 million in America living at 200% of poverty. Think about that. That's 1 in 3 people. 50 million of it is white. The other half is people of color. Folks, when you have that much pain, just from a street smart standpoint, when you have that much pain, it's hard to center any one group, no matter how much you want to do it. But if you're not talking about luxury, if you're not talking about governing, you have the luxury to talk about subgroups. But if you're talking about governing, you got to situate everyone while still holding the interest of all of those subgroups. I'm talking about governing right now. I'm asking us to raise our gaze and think about how do we change the nature and logic of our government so it doesn't see us in a hostile way, so that it will see our humanity and work in service of all of our thriving. That's our unfinished work, and it has been done. Remember No New Taxes, No New Taxes by Grover Norquist? That was changing the nature and logic of government to starve it of a tax base so that it couldn't perform for us. Jim Crow laws, changing the nature and logic of government so it would be hurtful to us. It would deny us opportunity. So what I'm asking you to think about now, if you think about being a founder of the nation yet to be born, who will you deny? See, it's easy to come into rooms and often tell white folks what they have to do. But there's many of us in this room who still do not see the humanity of everyone. We had this conversation in my office one day. Because the staff person says, well, Michael, if we shift to the all, first of all, it's actually not a shift. It's been in the darn definition since the founding of PolicyLink. So I don't have to be afraid of the word equity because it's always been about the all. It's nothing brand new. She said, well, if we do that, what do we tell white people? I said, wow, that's fascinating that you think that we have something to say to white people in the first place. Because my uncles who are fire and brimstone preachers do not see the humanity of the gay community. We got work to do. And a light bulb went off with them. That the muscle that has been built is too often looking outward and telling other people the work that they have to do, and not seeing that each and every one of us, if we're going to be founders of this new nation, our heads got to get right and our spirit has to get right. Our hearts have to get right. And we're not there yet. I'm not there fully. PolicyLink is not fully there. We're all imperfect beings, and as soon as we can accept that fallibility, then we can hold the grace to start doing work with each other in a different way. So what I'm inviting you to think about now is to not run to the shadows when it comes to this work. To think about how do you take the work that you're doing in place and create a governing agenda. A governing agenda that will create a new legal and regulatory frame that emerges from community, but allows us to have stronger protections. You know, if our landmark civil rights legislation is going to get dismantled right before our eyes, we ought to be thinking about a constitutional convention. Folks, we cannot think small anymore. We're not getting beat because of programs and services. We're getting beat because of legal and regulatory frameworks that do not work for us. So it really doesn't matter how much more work we do. If I'm telling you there are 100 million people struggling, something transformative has to happen in our practice. I can't get to scale for my population without dealing with governing. The power of situating a population is it causes a beautiful stress on the individual and the organization. It causes us to revamp our entire portfolio. And I want you to think about what has to change in your portfolio. Because you could be getting A's for a program officer and actually still be becoming irrelevant as hell. Think about that for a moment. You could be getting A's with the program officer and be becoming irrelevant in the scheme of, is that really the work that should be being done in this moment? So I want you to think about, what would a governing agenda born out of your work look like? Water is a governing issue. Housing is a governing issue. Infrastructure is a governing issue. Climate is a governing issue. These things aren't just cute little boutique programs we should be implementing. The programs and services that we implement should be informing a governing agenda that is ours. So I need you not to be afraid in this moment, because there will be loss. I might lose my job. It really doesn't matter, because when your soul is in the work, it is indomitable. If you took me out of this seat, you'd see me popping up somewhere else. And I really want you to hold that, folks. When you are doing your soul work, it can't be stopped. And if you are afraid to do your soul work, just remember, oppressed peoples have never been defeated. We've never been crushed. We've endured a lot of pain, but we've never been crushed. But it is that pain that gives us the agency to know what needs to be done. So I want you to think about, how do you plant your feet deeply on the side of equity? Whether you say the word or not is irrelevant. What I care about, are you doing the liberating work of equity? Because that's what matters. And the beauty is you never have to say the word. The racist never tells you they're going to do racist things to you. They just do them. So I don't know why we think we got to name everything. That's part of our problem. Be street smart for a change and stop being book smart so much, because you missed the play. I've never been in a boardroom that said, you know what, I'm going to make this boardroom all white. They move with a conviction. The last thing I'll say is this. Stop begrudging others who want a very different version of America. Stop begrudging them. Actually, stop responding to them, because when you do that, you're already lost. That agenda is a dying agenda, and your response to it is a dying response. It is time for us to wade into the whitewater of democracy and play there. Be unashamed about what we're trying to do, and to do it. Now, I'm going to tell you one last thing before I get out of here. It is possible to transform your organization to do this, but you got to think about the stance that I'm taking. When I took over PolicyLink, imagine a woman like Angela Glover Blackwell, on average, getting only $12 million to bring equity to all sectors in America along with all of you. That's a disgrace. It's disrespectful. Today, our budget is $50 million. Now, ask what happened. I decided I'm just not going to do this work on a shoestring and duct tape. It can't be done. And so I asked program officers, would they partner with us, like Dr. Hatter and others. I only had 3% unrestricted operating support. You can't even craft strategy with that. Today, it's 75% general operating support. And lastly, we had the audacity to benchmark our peers and say, well, wow, if our peers in DC have $300 million endowments, but all they do is report the news of ain't it awful, and we're asked to do that too, but to get results, we should at least have that. So this is where the street smart work comes into play. We launched a $300 million capital campaign, not knowing how to get it, but knowing that the worst that could happen is we'll just have 12 million, which is what we had, which is good when you come out of poverty because you're not afraid of going back to it. Don't necessarily want to, but we're closing that campaign this year. Now, why do I tell you that? I tell you that story and I share those numbers with you not to brag. I share those numbers and these stories to tell you that it is time for us to take a radically different leadership stance. You already are authorized, you already have the agency to usher in the society that we want. Don't be afraid. Don't look for another word. Don't look for a silver bullet. You all are the liberators that we've been waiting for. It is time for us to create that just and fair society. So I invite you to think about being that founder that's going to birth the nation yet to be born, a nation that will work in service of everyone's thriving, see the humanity of everyone, and love everyone particularly. Thank you.